jurASSic Rebirth finally came out in cinemas today, and I got a chance to see it, and well, it's better than the last one. When it comes to the Jurassic Park franchise, I think it's a pretty bad one, to be honest. I mean, outside of the fantastic original, there's not much good in this franchise. There's only one movie outside of the original that I actually enjoy, and even that's just a 3 out of 5. Not going to get too much more into my thoughts on the franchise though, because I will hopefully have a ranking out on Monday, so look out for that. I'll be honest, when the trailers for this one came out, I did think it looked pretty promising, but I still just wasn't getting myself excited because I knew about the production this thing had, how they fast-tracked this thing after writing a script very fast, originally having the director David Leitch, but eventually dropping him after he wanted to do something creative and different with the script, eventually deciding now we're going to pick someone who wouldn't deviate from the script. They just do exactly as the script says and nothing else. Well, they picked Gareth Edwards. I'll say this now, the movie isn't awful, and this franchise has definitely had worse, but this just still isn't good at all, and it has so many problems which I just want to talk about. Now I'll start with the positives, because there are surprisingly quite a few. To begin with, this has some of the best visuals of the entire series. Just the way this one looks, especially with how it goes about showing the dinosaurs in really cool and sort of creative visual ways, I really dug. Because I think the opening scene was absolutely fantastic, just a really strong way to start this movie with how actually tense it was. I just do wish the rest of the movie managed to be as tense and scary and epic as that opening scene. And finally, I think some of the action set pieces here are pretty creative and clever. If they were just used in a movie with better written characters and stakes, it would have made for some great action and horror scenes. But that goes into my negatives, and that's about it for my positives. Because when I said this movie needed better written characters and stakes, I really do mean it. All the characters are just really boring. Again, it doesn't help that the stakes of this thing are terrible, simply for the reason of this is a movie that's so afraid to give our characters any proper consequences while they're in danger. Many times you just don't care what's happening because of how uninteresting all the main characters are and how low the stakes feel. Overall, the writing of the movie is just bad as a whole. It definitely feels like the first draft of a script rather than a final draft. So many moments where you think to yourself, if they put more time into this thing and fleshed more things out, then it would have benefited greatly. Another thing I have to say is that this movie is kind of a mess, which I really wasn't expecting. Not as much as a mess as, like, I don't know, Dominion. But I mean, I really want you to ask yourself after the movie is over who the main character was, because in truth there wasn't a pivotal main character, and that's because this movie really did feel like two movies in one. And I mean that literally, because there's a point where you're really well into the movie and know what the plot is, until for some bizarre reason they decide to add a completely new plot and very unnaturally force it into the one we're already well into. It's just really weird and just so bizarre. So there's feeling like they wanted to do two different ideas for Jurassic World movies and just said, make it one, it'll earn $1 billion anyway, who cares? One last thing before I wrap up my quick thoughts on this movie are, I really do commend them for trying to go back to the horror roots of the franchise. But again, it's just that issue of the characters really bad, the stakes really bad, and that leads to all the horror scenes feeling really underwhelming. So it doesn't really matter if you've gone back to the semi-horror roots of the franchise, because you don't feel any tension outside of that opening scene. Like I said, this movie isn't terrible, but it's not good either. As for who I'd recommend it to, I don't know. I'd say if you're not like me and aren't overly negative on most of the Jurassic movies outside of the first one, then yeah, you'll like this, you'll have a great time even. But if you're like me and just aren't big on this franchise outside the first one, then man, I don't think this is going to change your opinion at all. I'm going to give Jurassic World Rebirth a 2 out of 5. It's just not good.